Hey there, I need you to listen closely. Right now, there's a 72% chance you have food in your pantry with insects inside. Not as some accidental contamination, but as a listed ingredient, and the corporations selling it to you are banking on one single, simple fact, that you'll never bother to read past the third line of the ingredients list. Do you see that word right there? Aceta domesticus. It sounds so medical, so scientific, almost reassuringly safe. In reality, it's just powdered crickets. And that other one, Tenebrio molitor, is simply mealworm larvae, ground into a cheap protein supplement that you can now find in the bread, pasta, and protein bars at every Walmart, Target, and Kroger across the United States. Just last week, I went out and purchased 12 common grocery items. I made a point to turn every single one of them over and scrutinize the label. A shocking 4 of those products contained insects. 4 of them. The only reason I was able to spot them is because I spent 2 long hours studying the code words and scientific names they are deliberately using to hide this from you. They aren't technically hiding it, because legally they can't, but they certainly aren't advertising it either. They use Latin names and obscure classification codes, counting on the fact that you're in a hurry and you're tired. You're just trying to feed your family. So here's what we are going to do over the next 3 minutes. I will walk you through every code that means insects. I'll show you the products and teach you the pattern so you never accidentally buy this stuff again. Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Stick with me, because it's going to get worse before it gets better. Picture this. The year is 2026. The transition period has officially ended. The insect invasion of American supermarkets has reached its absolute peak. While major grocery chains talk a big game about sustainability and innovation, the truth is that this is all about their bottom line. Expensive, traditional proteins are being systematically replaced with cheap insect flour, cleverly disguised under names like Aceta domesticus and Alphatobius deperennis. 4 primary species have now thoroughly infiltrated our food supply. Each one has been approved by global food authorities and hidden behind Latin terminology that sounds academic, but really just means you're eating crickets, worms, and beetles. Let's name the culprits, with a heavy emphasis on their Latin cover names. The common house cricket shows up on labels as Aceta domesticus. The mealworm is listed as Tenebrio molitor. The migratory locust is called Locusta migratoria, and the lesser mealworm goes by Alphatobius diaperennis. Doesn't that just sound delicious? Absolutely not, which is precisely why the food industry uses this Latin camouflage. You should treat these Latin names as an academic smokescreen designed to confuse you. If a corporation printed "made with house cricket powder" on the front of the box, you wouldn't buy it. You'd put it right back on the shelf without a second thought. But when Aceta domesticus appears in tiny print, sandwiched between maltodextrin and natural flavors, it looks scientific, almost like a vitamin supplement or a mineral compound. It is a deliberate psychological filter. This whole movement was officially sanctioned by global food safety agencies, paving the way for what we see now. The European Union, for example, approved these 4 species through a series of specific regulations. Tenebrio molitor got the green light in June of 2021. Locusta migratoria was approved in November of 2021, and Aceta domesticus followed in February of 2022. Alphatobius diperennis was the latest to be approved in January of 2023. It's crucial to pay attention to these approvals. They are official and they set the precedent. Pay close attention to phrases like partially defatted Aceta domesticus powder. That's corporate speak for ground-up crickets in your pasta. Under current FDA guidelines, these insects can legally appear in bread, crackers, cereal bars, cookies, pizza, pasta, processed meat products, soups, snacks, beer-like beverages, chocolate, and meat substitutes. The list is constantly growing, and these changes are perfectly legal. But why is the food industry even doing this? The answer, as always, is simple: money. Insect flour is poised to become an incredibly cheap filler material by 2026. Yes, on paper, it has high nutritional value, but the real benefit for manufacturers is the massive reduction in their costs. It allows them to cut back on expensive raw materials like high-quality wheat flour, premium eggs, or imported protein concentrates. You're paying the same price at the checkout at Walmart or Kroger. But inside your loaf of bread or box of pasta, the recipe has been quietly optimized for their profit margin. A former production manager from a major industrial bakery in the Midwest revealed this exact strategy. Insect flour is the perfect product extender. It effectively binds moisture and boosts the protein content on the nutrition label without them having to use expensive soy isolate or powdered milk derivatives. So what you're really getting is an industrial cost-cutting model being sold to you as some kind of sustainable innovation. The profit margins are significant. 1 kilogram of cricket powder costs about 60% less than an equivalent amount of protein from dairy or high-quality plant sources. Now multiply that by the millions of products passing through the aisles of Target, Kroger, and Walmart every single week. The savings are astronomical, but these Latin names and new insect flowers are just the tip of the iceberg. There are hidden insect-based ingredients that you've been consuming for decades. We're talking about substances derived from the cochineal beetle. You'll see it listed as carmine or cochineal extract, and it appears in almost everything that needs an appetizing red color. You'll find it in strawberry yogurts, fruit candies, pink-colored sodas, and dessert toppings. But behind this innocent-sounding food coloring lies a mass grave of insects. Cochineal is literally made from crushed insect bodies. To produce just 1 kilogram of this red dye, workers have to crush approximately 150,000 female beetles of the species Dactylopius coccus, which live on cacti in Peru and Mexico. The insects are harvested, killed by exposure to intense heat, dried out, and then ground into a fine powder. The red pigment is then extracted using water combined with ammonia or sodium carbonate solutions. That raspberry-flavored Jell-O mix sitting on the shelves at Kroger and Safeway contains cochineal. It's crushed insect bodies included just so your dessert has the perfect shade of red. But if you think that's absurd, the situation gets even wilder when we look at shellacc. It's a biological varnish, a glazing agent sprayed directly onto the surface of food. Imagine coating your furniture with a layer of wood polish to give it a nice sheen. Well, the food industry does the exact same thing to your apples, chocolate, and candy. But this varnish isn't synthetic. It's a secretion from an insect, the Caryolaca, which lives on trees in India and Thailand. These insects secrete a sticky, resinous substance that hardens on tree branches. This resin is then scraped off, processed into shellac, and sprayed onto fruits and candies to make them shine. To produce just 1 kilogram of shellac, you need to harvest the secretions from anywhere between 50,000 to 300,000 lac bugs. So when you bite into that shiny apple from Walmart, you're actually consuming insect secretions. The disgust factor is one thing, but the real medical threat comes from chitin and the allergic reactions it can cause. For your body, there's a much bigger problem on the horizon. By 2026, this won't just be about an aesthetic ick factor. With the mass introduction of insect flour into everyday bread, pasta, and protein products, a new medical threat is emerging for American consumers. That threat is chitin. Chitin is the substance that makes up the exoskeletons of insects, their hard outer shells. Think of chitin as being like ground-up shrimp shells, pulverized into a fine dust. For most people without allergies, it passes through the digestive system like an indigestible fiber. It might be uncomfortable, but it's not immediately dangerous. But for people with allergies, chitin is chemical warfare. If you have a shellfish allergy to things like shrimp, crab, or lobster, or if you react to common house dust mites, your immune system can't tell the difference between insect proteins and a dangerous intruder. The protein structures are astonishingly similar. Your body's defense system sees that grasshopper powder in your bread from Aldi the same way it sees shrimp protein, and it launches a full-blown allergic reaction. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration confirms that insect proteins can cause severe cross-reactions in people with existing allergies. A comprehensive study published in 2023 involving over 2,000 participants found that 17% of people with a documented allergy to shellfish or dust mites reacted specifically to grasshopper and mealworm proteins. That's nearly 1 in 5 people who suffer from these allergies. For these individuals, eating bread containing insect flour can trigger anaphylactic shock, with symptoms like hives, itching, facial swelling, coughing, shortness of breath, abdominal pain, and vomiting. In extreme cases, this reaction can be life-threatening. Every product containing edible insects must now carry a special FDA warning about allergic reactions for people with shellfish, mollusk, or dust mite allergies. But here's the crucial detail. Heat treatment during baking does not eliminate the allergenic potential. The protein structures remain intact even at high temperatures, so that freshly baked bread from Kroger still carries the full allergy risk. Where are these insects hiding in your grocery store? The threat is real, but where exactly is it lurking on the shelves? Here are the 2 main places you need to watch out for. The first category, protein bars and fitness snacks. In this aisle, Acheta domesticus powder is often marketed as a sustainable protein source. You'll find these edible insects in protein bars containing cricket flour, sold in stores like Whole Foods for around $3 to $5 a piece. The packaging uses green graphics and slogans about sustainability, but you're often paying a premium price for a raw material that costs the manufacturers next to nothing. The second category is bread, baking mixes, and pasta. This is where insects become a pure, cheap filler. Major chains like Kroger and Aldi introduced bakery products with insect additives in select locations across the USA in late 2023. Pay close attention to the phrase partially defatted powder on the ingredients list. This is the industry's code word for industrially processed beetle larvae or cricket powder in your daily bread. The words partially defatted are designed to sound technical and harmless, when in reality, they just mean some of the fat was removed from the ground-up insects before they were added to your food. The food industry is banking on you being too tired after work, too rushed at the checkout, too overwhelmed by the technical and Latin names on the ingredients list to actually read the back of the package. They built this system by exploiting consumer fatigue and information overload. But now you have the knowledge, and knowledge is power. Here is your 3-step battle plan for insect-free shopping. Step 1, the Latin lockdown. When you see Acheta, Tenebrio, Locusta, or Alphatobius on an ingredients list, put the product back down. These Latin names appear in fine print, often hidden among other ingredients. Learn to spot these 4 words and reject them instantly. Step 2, the vegan veto. For complete certainty, buy products that are certified vegan. A vegan certification acts like a biological gatekeeper. It blocks anything that comes from an animal, and insects are classified as animals. This automatically eliminates E120, also known as cochineal extract from crushed bugs, and E904, which is shellac, a secretion from LAC insects. Step 3, heed the allergen warning. If the package says may contain shellfish, but there's no seafood in the ingredients, it's a huge red flag for chitin from insect-based additives. Now the power's in your hands. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has drafted regulations for mandatory graphic labeling on products containing insects, featuring a clear insect icon. These proposed rules are currently under review. According to a Consumer Reports study from late 2024, around 76% of American consumers do not want to eat products made with insects or insect-derived ingredients. You are not alone. You're part of the informed majority, refusing to be a guinea pig in corporate cost-cutting schemes disguised as some kind of green revolution. The industry built this entire system banking on your ignorance. They were betting that the scientific names would just go over your head. They assumed you'd never connect E120 with crushed-up bugs. They took a gamble, hoping all their sustainability buzzwords would drown out that gut instinct telling you to know exactly what you're